Hello and welcome back to Prepper Nation. I'm John, the voice of Prepper Nation. Thank y'all for being here. Thank you for supporting the channel. Thank you for giving me a few minutes of your day. I appreciate the likes and subscribes and sharing it out and all of that. And of course, Coffee Club, Patreon. Y'all freaking rock. Thank you. We've got another list today. 2 days in a row. It feels almost like we've broken a record here recently. There's just a bunch of stuff going on in my personal life, folks. Having said that, it feels really good to get 2 days in a row here. And again, we're shooting for an entire week, Monday through Friday, of content this week. We'll see. But we're going after lists, right? So yesterday we did a list, and I think it was from, what was it called? foodstoragemoms.com. And I didn't necessarily agree with about half of their list. I think some of the stuff was just out of order. Some of the stuff was not as important as they made it out to be. And I think they missed some very important stuff on that list. And I went through and I read the comments, I checked the feedback, and I really pondered this. Pondered, what a word this morning, son. I pondered it and I said, what is my top 10 list? My top 10 list for priorities for preppers. Okay. You advanced preppers, you've probably already done all 10 of these things. Maybe you missed something, or again, maybe I've missed something and you need to let me know in the comments. John, son, you done lost your mind. You forgot this. I'm not going to be offended. Just be respectful. Okay. It is what it is. I'm not perfect. I'm not the end all be all prepper. I've always said that. But there are a lot of intermediate and even beginning preppers or people that aren't even prepping. But they might be interested in prepping and they're just peeking into the community to see what's going on. How can they get started? So again, my top 10 list, priorities for preppers. And I'm going to go over everything and explain everything. I am going to be dramatic this morning. If you want to know what number one is, you're going to have to stick around almost to the end of the video, right? Because I am going to start with number 10. It's a YouTube thing, right? Number 10, you need to understand you're going to be surrounded by threats and it is a numbers game. I don't know if everybody understands that. Okay, as a prepper, you really, really, really need to understand that. I get some of you live in rural America like I do, and it's not like vastly populated. Okay, and you think, hey, I got a half a mile in between neighbors, it's all good. But I want you to understand, as we're going to talk about later this week, we are approaching a time that is very similar to the collapse of the ancient Roman Empire. And we are going to see mass exodus of people leaving cities. I'm not talking about looking for other jobs. We already see that. California, man, people can't get out fast enough. New York State, people cannot get out fast enough. They're going to Florida and Texas, from what I understand. I'm talking about when the collapse happens. And the collapse can lead to many different things. We can be looking at civil war. We can be looking at revolution. We can be looking at a total communist takeover. All kinds of things. Financial collapse. It can be a combination of all these things. People are going to be leaving cities en masse. They are going to be showing up in your small town. A lot of people from small towns are already seeing, of course, they're illegals, right? Many of them showing up in their towns. But you're going to see desperate people, and it really is going to become a numbers game. You've got 5 homes in your neighborhood, right? For example, I'm just pulling that number out of the air, but when you have 200 people in your neighborhood, all of a sudden, you're not as safe as you used to be, believe it or not. And I think people need to wrap their heads around that. You're going to be surrounded by threats. You're going to have to worry about extended family snitching you out if you have things. You just are. We saw this during the C-19. People are quick. Extended family, friends, they are quick to rat you out and snitch you out. What do you think a collapse is going to look like? I'm not sure that state and local law enforcement isn't going to become a threat. They certainly were during the collapse of the Roman Empire. Anytime you see a nation begin to collapse, state and local law enforcement, they're not really there to help you anymore, to serve and protect. They're there as a matter of survival, just like you are. That's not to say every officer is bad. I'm being honest with you. You need to hear it. So it is a numbers game, and you need to understand that. That's my number 10 at least. Number 9 kind of plays into this. Learn to be gray. Prepping? What's prepping? I don't understand. I heard about it on TV once. All right. I don't want FEMA taking care of me. I don't want the Red Cross taking care of me or the UN. But if the UN and FEMA and the Red Cross are setting up tents and they're giving out free meals and they're giving out water, guess what, son? You better be in line. Because it's not going to take people long to figure out if you're not in line, you're sitting on a stockpile somewhere. You need to be desperate and you need to be gray and you need to be as shell-shocked and confused as everybody around you. Part of being gray is just assuming the identity of everybody around you. If there are thousands of people out in the streets and they're mad and they're not taking it anymore, number one, you better get out of there, right? Because that sounds like you're in a city and you need to get out. But as you're getting out and as you're going through this crowd, you need to be on the backside of the crowd. You need to wear nothing that is going to stand out. No bright, colorful crap. You need to be looking as bland as possible. You need to look upset. You need to look like you're part of the problem. You're part of the mob. And then once you're past the mob, just keep going. You understand you need to learn to be gray. They set up tents for food, you go. Some people in the past have said, well, John, I have a problem. Maybe as a Christian doing this, I'm taking away from somebody else. Listen, I understand that and I respect that. But if you don't show up, these people are going to take away from you. Either the UN or FEMA, they're coming and take your stuff, or your neighbors are going to figure it out, and they're going to come take your stuff. Learn to be gray. Again, what is prepping? Learn to be gray. Number 8. Cannot stress this enough as a prepper because I've dealt with this every single day, it seems like, since I got into prepping. Get organized. I can't stress it enough. People that are not actively prepping do not understand how much room it takes, how much organizational time it takes to get things together. And very quickly, especially if you're doing your due diligence and you're stacking, growing, maybe canning, it stacks up on you fast. And before you know it, you're looking at a huge stack and you're like, oh my God, what is what over there? And I'm not immune to it. Folks, I have bags. I don't even know what's in the bags. They were packed a few years ago. I have ammo cans. Don't know what's in them. I know what's marked on top, but I cannot guarantee you that's what's inside. And what has happened is I'll go through these things as I can. I'll pull a bag down and go through it and reorganize it on a fine Saturday. But there was only so many fine Saturdays, right? You run out of organization fast. And so as a prepper, number 8 for me, it's that important. It's on my top 10 list of things to do. Get organized. Especially if you're just starting out, you're going to save yourself a lot of time and a lot of worry on the back end. Number 7. This is going to ruffle some feathers, but you need to have a plan B and you need to have a plan C. I am not a fan of the people that say, I'm just going to die here at the fort. That is not a plan B or a plan C. I understand where you're coming from emotionally. I understand health concerns may get in the way and things like this, and you don't want to abandon your home. However, at the same time, you've got to have a discussion with reality. Okay? You may have the most well-defended home on the planet. But if enough people who are armed to the teeth that want your stuff show up, you ain't going to be able to defend the fort. And there's really, it's not heroic to go down with the fort. If you were just going to go down with the fort, what's the sense in prepping? Prepping is about survival of the SHTF. You need to have a plan B and a plan C. You need to have a bug out plan. Now, bug out plans can look like a lot of different things. This does not mean, hey, I'm going to the woods to eat bugs for 6 months. You can bug out 100 miles to the west and go stay in a hotel somewhere and keep an eye on the news. And if the threat continues to follow you and move your way, you can bug out and you can go another 100 miles to the west. It's about staying out of harm's way and surviving. Have a plan B, have a plan C. Number 6, we talked about it yesterday, information gathering. Comms are optional here. I know some people are huge fans of comms back and forth. Again, I'm really not. For me, it's about information gathering. I don't need to have somebody on the other side of town to talk to. I don't need to have, it's not like we're going to have a second and a third group here and here and here and all this stuff. Maybe some mags and stuff have that, but my people are going to be with me if and when that time comes. And I'll be able to walk into the next room and talk to them. You know what I mean? So comms for me, not a big deal. Information gathering is paramount. I need to know if there's a threat before it gets to the front door. I need to know where the front lines are at. I need to know what the government is doing. It's so important. If you look at the collapse of societies, it's happening. Again, we talked about Venezuela yesterday, Bangladesh, it's happening there. It's happened in the UK. What'll end up happening is the government will actually come in and they will try to stop information gathering because it's that important. They're trying to shut down social media. They're trying to shut down your ability to figure out what is going on. And so it's paramount that you know what is going on. This is going to help you survive. Okay? You need multiple, I should add, good radios. The NOAA radios. They need to be solar. They need to be cranked. They need to be battery operated. Just have them. They're not that expensive, folks, and this is going to allow you to get information beyond just word of mouth. Number 5. I'm just going to hit on this for a second because we talked about it yesterday pretty much in detail, but skills. Skills is a top 5 for me. And this is why I think a small community or a small group is the key. Now, when I say a small group, this can be a family. This can be a family with a few extended family, maybe. But everybody's got their own job to do and everybody's got their own skill set. That's the important thing. You know, it's great if you're proficient with the rifle. But if you have a camp full of people that know how to use AK-47s and nobody knows how to grow food and nobody knows first aid and you're in trouble. Okay, every job is just as important as the next. Having somebody that can cook incredibly good, that's a positive. Having somebody that understands if you're bugged out, understands how much firewood it actually takes to get through an entire day and an entire night, because again, you're purifying water. That's very important. And it's also kind of backbreaking work. I'm just saying, everybody has to do their part. So that's number 5 for me. Number 4, have a get together plan. When the get down gets to the get down and it's time to go, it's time to bunker in somewhere, or it's time to bug out, whatever you've chosen to do, whatever your plan A is, there needs to be a plan to get everybody together. This cannot take hours. This has to happen pretty immediate. All right. Get everybody together. Once everybody's there, everybody knows what they're doing. Okay. Maybe you have somebody watching after all of the kiddos and working on sleeping arrangements. You've got somebody inventorying, so they can go ahead and start the process of maybe rationing the food out. You've got somebody working on water, purification and catchment already, or procurement. There's a big word for you, son. Whatever the case may be, somebody's working on home security at that point. Have a plan to get everybody together. Number 3, this is how important this is. It's top 3 for me. Secure the home and be sure that you have self-defense. Again, ain't crapping on judo. I'm not crapping on taekwondo, but I mean real self-defense. Somebody got mad last week because I said, if your only self-defense when a collapse happens is bear spray, you're a goner. And I was just being honest with these people. Like, that's not enough. If we see a total collapse, people are going to be doing things or capable of doing things that you would not believe human beings are capable of doing. Bear spray is not enough. You need some kind of real home self-defense. And the fine people in the comments, they can tell you what they prefer. Some people, again, the AR, the AK, the 12 gauge, the 9 mil, whatever. But you need to have something. You need to have something that is reliable, and you need to make sure that the home is already secured. You can't wait until the zombie apocalypse happens to start boarding the windows up, right? The moment you hear news is bad, you got to have something in place, maybe storm shutters or something. You really need to be on top of home defense, especially if you're one of these people that are going to defend the fort until the last moment, okay? Number 2, stack your basic staples. I think I'm not going to insult you. I think most people, even if they're just brand new to prepping, I think they understand basic staples. Okay. What is going to provide calories? How long is it good for on a shelf? A little more advanced stuff. How much water does it take to get said food to the point where you can eat it? Have an abundance of water on hand. Have basic first aid on hand. Have some gear on hand. You do not have to look like the Italian military. You got gear stacked to the ceiling, 20 rooms deep. You don't have to do that. You don't have to have, a $50 million bunker. Just have your basics. Again, if you're thinking like a prepper and you've got 30 days worth, you're probably in the top 10%, because most, at least here in America, most of the people haven't thought that far ahead. And they're not going to until it's time to panic. And then it's too late, folks. Then we see things like toilet paper vanishing. Okay? And number 1, as we talked about yesterday, list and rank the SHTFs. Sit down and make a list of the top 10 most likely SHTFs. And then put them in order. What's the most likely to happen out of that top 10? What's the least likely to happen out of that top 10? And prepare accordingly. If you live in Oklahoma, tornadoes are a big deal. That's probably going to be number 1 or number 2 for you, right? Prepare accordingly. If you're in Florida, hurricanes probably a big deal. Number 1 or number 2 on the list, prepare accordingly. Just think about it. Think about it from the vantage point of a prepper. This stuff is not hard. That's the thing with prepping. So many people, I think, overthink. And it's just not hard. Sit down, take your time, put some plans into place, rank and file the SHTFs, and allow that prepper inside of you to kind of take over. You'll know what to do in many, many cases. You'll know which skills are more valuable than other skills. It's a lot of that's going to be based on your plans and the geography, things like this. So anyway, tomorrow's going to be a hot topic. And it's not going to be a topic that many people enjoy, but it needs to happen. And it will be 5 reasons the America you know and love is finished. And there's going to be a lot of historical context in that conversation as well. So I hope to see you there. Till then, take care. God bless.